Very good.
Okay. I'm Pat Higby from the UNI Museum, located here on the Cedar Falls campus of the University of Northern Iowa. And I'm here to talk with you today about the African art of adinkra. Adinkra is an artistic creation from the Ghana people, the Ashanti people of the country of Ghana. And you'll find Ghana located here, kind of in the corner of Africa. Just a little bit over to the side from the corner is the nation of Ghana. Adinkra is quite an old art, and the first records we have of it are from the 1800s when British officials were collecting items for the British Museum. And this is one of the early cloths that they would have found. And you'll notice, to our eyes perhaps, we think it's a little busy, but the traditional components are here, that they would have the repetition of a design within a cross-hatched border that they would have there. The way in which it was made in those earliest days was to peg the cloth onto the ground, and it was usually a cotton cloth, and originally would have been one that they had hand woven. In recent times, of course, they would use manufactured cloth instead, but originally it would have been a hand woven cotton cloth. They would have grown the cotton themselves. And what you'll see this gentleman doing oops, just a little too much, is that he's stamping that cloth. The stamp that he's using would have been carved from a calabash gourd. And then it has some handles here that allow him to hold it without getting his hand into the paint itself. The ink or paint that he was using would have been cooked for several weeks. It was quite a long process to get this made up. They would boil the bark of a tree for a week or two and add a little iron slag to it. The iron slag would help to make it black. It would also help it bind well to the fabric. And so that would be the way in which they would do their painting. Instead of using the calabash gourds, we would be using linoleum blocks. This is called safety cut linoleum, that we would carve with our linoleum block tools. And these are excellent. They hold up very, very well. Elementary school teachers that want to have a cheaper alternative can cut their blocks out of sponges that the kids can then use, but they really are not as durable. They would be kind of a one-time use affair, and they would not have the same precision, the same detail that you would find in these blocks that we've got here. So these are the blocks that we'll be using. And the process is really quite simple. I like to lay down a grid first, and you can see that this grid has been used many times. It helps to get your alignment so that you stay squared up as you're working. And when you lay your fabric over that grid work, you can see the grid through the fabric. I'm using unbleached muslin, which works very well for this. You will want to pre-wash it because the starches that are in the muslin when it comes from the factory need to be removed so that the paint can stick very, very well to that. I'm using a meat tray, so you can go to your grocery store and buy some cookies or some meat. And I'm just using an acrylic paint. It's just a craft paint that we're going to use here. You need to have a nice smooth surface. And the first few times it does take quite a bit of paint because you have to paint the tray and you have to paint your brush. But hopefully you'll get a nice smooth layer there, and then you'll be ready to stamp. Just once into the paint, straight up, and you can look at your stamp and see if you've got a good coat on your stamp. Let's get that just a little bit focused. There we go. You can see that the part that you're going to be printing with is nicely covered with paint there. The other thing that you can check is to see, did the design come out of the paint? And as you can see, the paint that's been removed from my tray is in the same design as the stamp that I'll be using. So that's one way of checking to make sure that your stamps are well done. Oops, we want that focused. There we go, and now I'll zoom out. Okay, so we've got our painted stamp, and we can just go straight down. Try to stay inside the square. Straight down, straight up, and there we've got our stamp. I'm going to go into the paint again, lift up, and if I were to find, like I see here, there's a corner on my stamp that didn't get paint on it, I can